YouTube. Hi, hello, welcome back. Once again, I'm Eli Jennings. Thank you for stopping by my YouTube channel. The book I want to talk about today, and really more than a book, this is kind of just an introduction to an author in particular. So the author's name is Robert Greene, and he's written, I believe, 5 or 6 books on a number of topics. The first one was called The 48 Laws of Power. And so what that book did is it went through, okay, let's look at powerful people of the past, both say, from generals and commanders in wartime to political figures to famous people to, really just significant public figures from different points in history. And so what Robert Greene does is he revisits that person's life. He kind of takes you through it. That'll be the first section of a chapter. And from there, he leads you on with some interpretations and then some keys to power. Or depending on the book's title, he wrote one on mastery, so keys to mastery. He wrote one on seduction, which I have here with me, which is a great read, but it's for another day. And then there's a few more. But the book that I want to talk about, and it's his shortest book. It's a really quick read, but it's very, very valuable because, to my knowledge, this is the only time he ever followed somebody around in person in order to kind of then break them down. And so the book is called The 50th Law. And so it's written obviously by Robert Greene, and then it's co-written by 50 Cent. Now 50 Cent, very famous rapper. I don't know if you're familiar, but his music is great. And what I really want to focus on here is his personal life and how he came to be where he is now. And so that was the biggest focus, Lordy. That was the biggest focus of the book. And so Robert Greene, what he did was he followed 50 around for about 2 months, and he studied him. And, he went into the meetings with him. He went into, he saw his whole life. He literally followed him around the whole time. There's an interview. It's a great interview with the two of them on YouTube, and it's talking about like what an unlikely friendship it was. But 50 was very interested in the things that Robert was working on, and Robert found himself, from watching the videos and reading, like sort of enamored in a way with how does this guy do what he does? Because if you know anything about the life of 50 Cent, it's nothing short of miraculous. He was born in the 80s during, the peak of the crack cocaine epidemic. That's when he was growing up, Brooklyn, Bronx, like New York City, like, really, really tough areas. And, he never knew his father. His mother died when he was very young. He was surrounded by gang violence, drugs, all of that. And not only did he become very successful within his own environment, independently really of any help, but then he transcended that, and he went on to obviously become a very famous, very popular rapper. And what's more than that is not only has 50 Cent been successful, he's had sustained success. And I think that's really the true measure of greatness in a lot of ways. Can you get to the top, but then can you stay there? Can you do the things to reinvent yourself, to constantly keep pushing forward? And that's what 50's done. And so, when Robert was researching for the book and he was going around with 50 and they were talking, he said there was a day where he finally realized what the secret was. What the one thing behind everything in 50's life, the thing that sort of unlocked his power. And Robert Greene phrased it something like this. He said, in every interaction in this man's life, it doesn't matter where you are, it doesn't matter, who you are, it doesn't matter what's like the context of it at all. Anytime 50 Cent approaches another person or a situation, according to Robert Greene, he is bringing less fear to the table than that other person. And so, that's seismic. Because if you're bringing less fear, then you're able to approach both personal and professional relationships in a profoundly, profoundly different way. Because so much of human nature and communication and relationship building and power struggles and all of this, it's so much more than the things we say. It's so much more than like what we're trying to project, people can really, really tell, you know? Like someone's energy is different if they're chasing truth or peace, or if they're just like genuinely showing up as who they are. And so, another part of the book that I really loved is the whole nature versus nurture argument. They go into this a little bit, and something I love is how 50 Cent talks about the whole like nature part of that argument is fucking it's bullshit. Which is 100% true, because he was talking about how he became the person he is because he went through all these different things in his life. And because of the experience he had, when his mother died at 8, or, when he was around people who were, losing their lives to drugs, to violence, when he was seeing all this happening right in front of him, when he got involved, everything that he went through brought him to a point where he was able to navigate life in a mode of being that is completely foreign to, I would say, pretty much everyone else, or the vast majority of people. And it is something we can cultivate, and that's what's exciting, because all the like, nature, genetics, all of that, like it's not shit we can do about that now. But if we, once again, and so much of what I want this channel to be about is just direct application, writing and speaking, all of that is useless, I believe, if there's not like a some sort of like call to action, some sort of stimulus to go out and then maybe engage with the world in a way that's different, and possibly in a way that's beneficial to you. Because the biggest gift of reading, and the reason that it's honestly, it's kind of my only hobby at this point. I dive into it every single day. You literally get to borrow someone else's mind. And on top of that, the smartest people in human history, from the time we started recording shit, like, they all want to be remembered, by and large. And so they write these things down. And it's really cool for me, because I've read through Robert Greene's, his books a number of times, but I love the 50th Law because it was, he brought it to today. But, I'm going to go over Robert Greene in pretty good depth over the coming weeks and months. His books they're just a really, really powerful starting point. Especially, I recommend him a lot to my friends who don't read right now, because he talks about shit that'll grab you. Real stuff. Real stuff, real shit, you know what I'm saying? But at any rate, I would encourage you to understand that you have within you so much more capability than what you're expressing right now. I don't care who you are. And a big way you can start to access some of that is by living your life and approaching situations with less fear. And that is something you can cultivate. And yeah, thanks for joining me. And genuinely, I'm really excited to hop into Robert Greene and, sort of just his philosophy and the way he breaks everything down, because it's a really, really, man, it's so powerful, man. I'm just excited to share with you. So once again, I'm Eli Jennings. I'm at Eli Jennings 17 everywhere, and thanks for joining. All right.